we are shifting gears oh so slightly. We're moving away from researchers a little bit for the next couple of guests, and we're going to talk to some amazing members of our community. Up next is Bob Aumillar. I don't know if Sue's going to be there with him, but he is ready in the wings. They come from our Columbus, Ohio chapter. His wife Sue runs the chapter, and Bob's been involved with some of this research that's been going on, for the last few years. So I think he's got an interesting perspective. So I'm excited for you guys to be able to chat a little bit and for you to get to know Bob a little more as he gets himself ready and, unmuted and on the video. Always takes folks a second to come in. There he is, our friend Bob. So glad to see you.
How you doing?
Today.
Good.
Hi, Tim.
Hey, how's it going, Bob?
Morning, Lee and Tim. Yeah, great.
Awesome. I'm going to let you guys have a chat. I'm going to go queue up our next couple guests. It's always great to see you, Bob.
Okay. Thank you.
So Bob, thanks for joining us. Exciting that you're part of this Giving Tuesday event. I know we try to make it a good, push on one of those days where we get a nice match and people donating money and their time, including, putting some time into it today with us. But you also do other things. I mean, you're a huge active role at the, Columbus, Ohio chapter. Tell us a little bit about the chapter, what's been going on, how's it been growing?
Right. Well, if it wasn't for my wife, Susan, I believe you've met her. And
yes,
we kind of act as a couple in doing all this. And she's just been so involved with it from the get-go. 5 years ago is when I found out and when my son, Bill, found out that we were both affected. So we've had 5 walks through the 5 years, and they've been, we think, very successful, including the virtual walk. And the chapter is doing all right. It's just we're having a little trouble getting total involvement from people, but there's ways I think we can do this year to get through to them and have them join with us. But we've had several chapter meetings through the years, and we're probably going to have one in January of 2023. And so it's just ongoing,
we're just keep moving forward with it.
Right.
I think I can relate, here in Wisconsin, I tried to create what I was hoping would be a strong chapter. I think it takes a long time. It's been difficult. I can understand, for some reason, people either they're super all in or they're reluctant. It doesn't mean they won't be involved at some point. So what do you think kind of helps turn the tide a little bit for them?
Well, we've had, like I said, several meetings, and we've reached out to them on the phone and email to try and get them involved in the walk. And unfortunately, most of the walks that we've had have been family and friends. Fortunately, we have good family, participation and a lot of friends. So we're fortunate to have friends here all in Central Ohio, and we have a lot of friends. So that helps.
Yeah, it does help. Yeah.
But I mean, and they end up helping and giving. And so we pretty much relied on them. We've done, I think, a pretty good job through the years, but we need to take another step. We're looking at maybe changing the walk to another event of some sort, but we're going to get together our small committee members and discuss that. So it's again ongoing, and we're going to have to get through to the members. Well, I think if we have a meeting in January and we insist, or that everyone must attend somehow. Yeah. And we typically have it on a Saturday because some people, it affects their work week. Some people, are working and other things. So Saturday seems to work good. We've had a few at Children's Hospital with Scott Harper, and those seem to be attended well because I think they're wanting to find information out about, the trials and upcoming trials and the things that are happening in the near future, we hope. So
right, and they're trying to find that hope, and I can imagine we just had Scott on not long ago. Right, he does bring great information forward.
Yeah,
sure.
And most of them know that I'm in the losmapimod, or the
Mhm.
that trial. Been in it for 3 years now,
Okay.
and taking the drug for, I know of, 2 years. They had a year of the placebo,
Mhm.
and I don't know whether I was on that, but 3 years ago I was entered into that study. Soon to go on to phase 3,
Mhm.
and the good news for my son, he's in phase 3 in Utah, so
Okay.
he just got in.
Wow.
So in that next 320 people that they're taking for phase 3
Mhm.
fulcrum.
Well, congratulations to him. So
Yeah.
how about that? I mean, we talked about that community involvement, not just financially and help with the giving, considering the theme of today, Giving Tuesday, but
Hmm.
also the push for patient involvement, getting into clinical trials or studies.
Right.
Did you have any reluctance when you were making that decision?
Oh no, none whatsoever. I've kind of taken on the role of being the guinea pig, and I will
Yeah.
do any and every. Although I'm getting a little bit out of the age limit, I just got into the fulcrum under the buzzer with 65 years old. You could be 18 to 65 inclusive, so I was
Okay.
65 at the
Wow. Just
time.
got in there. Okay.
Yeah, and but yeah, I would take a shot, do anything that
Yeah.
looks like it's going to work, and um, I, fortunately, I'll be able to continue with phase 3, and hopefully be on the losmapimod for 3 to 4 years,
Mhm.
until hopefully they take it to the FDA and approve it.
Mhm.
People ask me all the time whether if it's helping, and the only thing I can tell them is that if I hadn't been taking it, I might have been a little further along with my, you know,
Okay.
being disabled.
Mhm.
And so I'm still getting around with a brace, a leg brace, and still doing everything that I can do, walking around, going places, and, traveling with my wife and all over the country to all the national parks that we want to go to on our bucket list.
Yeah.
And so fortunately, it's only affected, well, it's affected my whole body, but my leg is the biggest thing. So again, I think, again, if I wasn't on this drug, maybe I'd have been a little further down the road and unable to do a lot of things I do. I can't.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is great that there's a benefit, right? But you also
Yeah.
mentioned just being that guinea pig, not minding to raise your hand, step forward, and say, "I'll kind of take this for the team. I'll do
Hmm.
this." Those that are reluctant, and not necessarily even just for trials. Sometimes I can understand that
Hmm.
aspect, but even for the studies and the Move study, the Move Plus that they're trying to get more people involved with. Um,
Yeah.
why do you think that is, where people don't seem to want to participate even in those things?
Yeah. I've done the move and the what was before that, the resolve study,
Oh, yeah.
all that through the years, and it takes time. It does take time to do them. I mean, you're in there for a day to doing all their stretches and taking blood
Mhm.
and everything else. And
Right.
I don't know. I think it's the time factor.
Yeah.
Um, and then, so I was wondering, for example, there's another Acceleron drug coming on board, I think maybe soon. I'm
Hmm.
not sure when that trial's coming up, but they're doing it intravenously, and you have to be in the facility overnight, I believe, is what I've heard.
Ooh.
So that takes time. I mean, I
Right.
don't know how they're going to get people to do that, but me being retired, I got all the time in the world. So hopefully they continue to take older people, but
Yeah.
um,
But that also brings a good point where people are reluctant for whatever reason, but then because of that, I think you mentioned being retired, you have a little more flexibility and time, and we
yes,
want to make sure that the studies, the trials are inclusive in as many different demographics, age groups,
hmm,
etc.
yeah,
So that can definitely be a hindrance then to the progress.
right,
you know
right. And for example, my son, he's 40,
Mhm.
and he just got into phase 3, but he works full time, and he's going to have to take, for example, the day off. He's in a study today, so he has to take a day per quarter or 2 days sometimes. So
Yeah.
it's not that much, not that bad, but still, it's that time factor, I think. And
Yeah.
then the younger people, of course, that's the strange thing about this disease is that I had no idea I had it until 5 years ago. I was 65,
Mhm.
and or 62, and I was perfectly healthy and athletic and ran and did everything, and all of a sudden this drop foot hit me. So
Mm.
younger people that I see and talk to in our chapter and older people, but the younger ones may be reluctant because they're not affected completely yet, or I think they're maybe shy in some way to do it, or I'm not sure, but I think they're very reluctant to get into, in the teens. We know some people in the teens and their 20s, and
Yeah, there's just kind of a reluctance, and
yeah,
I've always found that has been somewhat of a common thread or a common theme is that
hmm
those that are all in, they get very active, and then there's this gap where those that don't even want to talk about it. There's even the term of coming out about it to their friends. We I think someone
yes,
did that on one of our broadcasts where they were telling
hmm
their friends by donating, like, I have this. So
yeah,
it is quite a moment when that happens for some. For me, or it sounds like even for you, it was relatively easy. We got loud about it pretty quick.
right.
We kick the door in and try to do something about it. Um, what's been your experience when you've met other people with FSHD? And maybe it's not your first time, meeting others since you're a chapter
hmm
director,
hmm
but it's theirs.
It's again, I see that reluctancy,
Mhm.
especially when maybe a parent has it and then their younger child has it. So the parents may be active. Like I'm really active and pretty much looking out for my son.
Yeah.
Hopefully, a cure will be able to, in the next 5 years, or by 2025, he might be getting a cure, and that would be great at his age. But getting back to the other people that I meet, it's just interesting for them to kind of observe them and see they're not really that much. You can tell they're not involved. They're just wanting to know what's going on in general, and hear from other people that have it. And it's just don't know what else to say about them. But again, our activity
Yeah.
with the chapter, we got to beef that up next year,
Mhm.
and we're working on that. So
Yeah.
some
It's
people will come for one meeting and then you'll never see them again.
mhm.
You know,
Yeah, I think a
but
lot of it is definitely an adjustment. It becomes very real when I think it was just
mhm,
kind of this afterthought in their life, and then all of a sudden, when they come to a group, it's like, I mean, this is real. There's other people have this.
yes,
This is something else that's more part of their life than they maybe realized, or I don't know. You're right. There's always the mental side to me of the FSHD disease that
yeah,
is fascinating. The physical affects the mental, and
yeah. The mental is a big thing. I go through a lot of I don't know, not anxiety, but just frustration from
Mhm.
having it and not being able to do what I used to be able to do and all that. Playing golf
Yeah,
is very difficult to do. Um, but the other thing is, most people that I meet, they know who had it in their family. So no one had it in my family that I know of. My mother's still living and she doesn't have it, and my father died early. So we don't know that carry down, and it doesn't mean to me, I don't care.
right.
But I think most of the people I meet, they do have a family member that they know of who's had it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fascinating. Right.
yeah,
I know. It feels like we're almost doing our own research study here. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Why do people get involved and why don't they? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
forth. Before we let you go, yeah, is there? I know you talked about doing more chapter meetings in January and kind of beefing up that presence.
hmm
Um, but for those that maybe someone out there listening came across this recently diagnosed, what kind of advice would you give to them? Maybe this is your your platform here that we can give you to say, get involved. What would you say, Bob, to them?
Yeah, well, that's interesting because Susan and I just met a gentleman at a state park here in Ohio, and he had two braces on exactly like mine. He had shorts on, and I didn't have shorts, but anyway, yeah, I did. So he noticed my
Yeah.
brace, and he approached me and talked to me about it. I said, hey, he didn't know what he had. So I said, I've got FSHD, and he didn't know his wife, and we told him all the information. Go to FSHD.com, go look into it online, and they did, because they took our number, and he's being diagnosed now. So,
Wow.
just get a hold of anybody and everybody you can get a hold of, especially the FSHD Society.
Yeah.
They had no idea what FSHD was, or, so we had to explain all that.
But remarkable that you ran across them just randomly.
Yeah. He approached me because he had the two braces on both legs, and had muscle weakness and everything. We haven't heard back from him, which just recent, and so we, are waiting to hear back because he's being diagnosed now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Remarkable.
So,
Remarkable.
yeah.
Well, thanks, Bob, for all the good work you're doing in your chapter, and looking forward to seeing you again throughout the next year. And thank you so much for joining us today.
We'll be around for a while.
I love to hear that. Nothing wrong with that.
Thanks, Tim.
You bet.
For everything you do.
Absolutely. Happy to do it just like you, and just like those watching. Let hopefully Bob be your inspiration a little bit. Get involved.
Right. Okay.
If you're in the Columbus area, reach out to their chapter. They could use more support there. And now Lee's popping back in. Hey, Lee.
Okay. Hi, Lee.
Take care, Bob. Say hi to
Thank you.
Gotcha.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bob just really touched on what we were just touching on earlier, right? Is that it's so important for people to be involved. And we do not take that lightly, that ask, of folks that are like, look, I don't know what the future holds. I've gotten this diagnosis, but it's not dramatically impacting my life just yet. And I don't want to walk in it every day. I want to go live my life. And we do not take that ask lightly. I resonate very much with that feeling.
Yes.
My youngest son has autism, and I know what it's like to say, I don't want to think about it all day, every day.
Right.
Right. And the moments when the reality of it hits you hard are hard moments, right? So I think I want people to know we respect that ask. And if we could do this without you, we wouldn't make the ask, right? But we can't do it without patients everywhere getting involved. Join your local chapter, support the volunteers that have been carrying the water since we started this program. We've got an amazing group of volunteer leaders across the country and across the North America and the globe that, said, okay, I'm going to give of my time and my talent and whatever little bit I've got, I'm going to throw it in there and make a difference and see what we can do. And they have done remarkable, amazing, phenomenal work. Some people chip in a little bit of their treasure. I would say there's three ways you can get time, talent, and treasure. Everybody's got a little bit of something. Some people might have all three, but it all makes a difference. It all matters. And, but we are so, it's almost like you can see it, I hiked Grand Canyon years ago, a long time ago. I was younger and healthier, and I'd never done anything. I trained just enough to not be dead, right? So I trained just enough to survive. So I'll never forget. I'm getting to a point here. This is a weird segue, I know, but I'm getting to a point. I'll never forget. So it's 3 days of hiking, 1 day down, a day on the bottom, and a day back up. And it's day 3, hiking back up. I thought, like I said, I trained just enough to not be dead. It is hard. And the trail we were on coming back up had all these switchbacks because the last section is super steep and it's just switchback. So I could see the Bright Angel Lodge. I could see the bar with my beer in it. And I just kept switching and switching and switching, and you kept moving away from it and every little switchback. And but I was so close, I could see it, right? And that's what keeps you going. It's like, I'm so close, I can see it. I know it's there waiting for me. Best beer I ever tasted in my life. I'm not a big beer person, but that day I was. And that's where I feel like we are, right? We are so close. The FSHD Society's been fighting this fight for 30 years. People have been dealing with this for, since before the FSHD Society was around. We had generations of people who said, I didn't know this is what my dad or my grandfather had, but now we know what it is, right? So this has been going on for a long time, and we are at that point where we can see it.
Yeah.
We need people to come on the next few switchbacks with us.
Yeah.
Because
I totally agree.
Yeah, this leg of the climb is hard, but we have to keep pushing. And the ask is hard. Come walk in it. Come live with it. Come acknowledge it mentally, emotionally. Like, I have it, and this is a thing I got to deal with. Because there will be payoff. I believe it. I believe there's going to be a payoff. I think the payoff is going to be treatments and a cure, and not just for you. I want it for you. I want it for Amy. I want it for insert every single name of all the people that I love that I've gotten to know over the last many years. For Beth and her family, for Amanda and her husband. I want to get
enough. Right. To me, it's like, okay, I understand if you didn't want to get involved or your reluctance, etc. We've talked about even with Bob there in some good detail. Someone that's on that, chapter side of things where you meet people and then you don't hear from them again. I had chapter meetings. I'd hear from a couple people, never heard from them again. Follow-ups, nothing. Because I think they just I kind of like the way it was, and I'm just going to go back to there.
Right.
So it's okay. But to me, you're going to have to answer the call eventually.
Yeah.
That's just how I see it. And, I'm not the person to be forceful about it or tell you what to do. Of course not. But at some point, I think you got to answer it. It's just something that it's just not going to go away.
Yeah.
You're going to want to be a part of the cure when it's there. So then be a part of it now already. Be a part of those research things. Be a part of the funding. Be a part of the groups. To put in your talent. Put in your skills. There's a lot you can offer the community. There's somebody out there that needs you. That needs your perspective. Needs your whatever it can be. And why would you deny them that? Is always just kind of what I just kind of ponder.
Everyone has something to give, and everyone can be the rock that goes in the pond that sets out the ripples. Right. So today is Giving Tuesday. We're trying to gain our $150,000 match. We got a long climb, until we wrap this up.
Switchbacks.
Many, many hours. We're on those switchbacks, but it's also the time to just step in and get involved. Join your local chapter. Sign up on our research registry. Share this live stream to your Facebook page, because you don't know who else is out there in your stratosphere that might go, I think that's what my friend has. I think I've got it, but I've never jumped in. So add your voice, right? Because we need to reach more and more people. We have about 5,000 identified patients, just shy of 5,000 identified patients in the FSHD Society's database from around the globe. They're not all US, they're all over the place. But we know with all this research that's coming, in order to get enough people to meet the criteria to fill all the trials that are going to be coming down the pathway in the next 3 to 5 years, we need to double the number of patients in our database that we can then reach out to, tell them about the trial, get them in the study, and get them involved. So we can't finish the hike. We can't take the next few switchbacks without you.
Right.
We all want to I cannot wait for that day when we can celebrate the first treatment, and then the next, and the next, and then the cure. And it's going to take all of us pitching in, just like you did. You got diagnosed, you called up, said, do you have a podcast?
I think
no, you want to start one?
I was like, why do you not have one?
Right. Well, we were waiting for you, Tim. The universe was waiting for you, because I can't imagine doing this with anybody else. So
I think year one, I think I did this by myself.
I was very much in the dark.
People and this and that. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. I didn't know what I did until I was But having you in there, oh my goodness, people, you have no idea. When I know Lee is just quietly on the other side, waiting for the next person to come in, and boom, then her face shows up. All right, here we go. More energy. that you bring, and this is so much better with two people, and not just two people, but with Lee as being one of those
Aw,
people. So thank you.
sweet. You're sweet.
Yeah, this
Checks
helps
in
a
the
lot.
mail. Checks in the
Checks in
mail.
the mail. Checks in the mail.
This is my favorite day of the year. This and being at the walks and being at the conferences.
Yeah,
Like,
the walks are fun.
I love all the work that I do. You know, I love keeping the website updated and working on social media and helping, you know, strategically deploy all our programs. That's a lot of, I love all of it, but this stuff, this is the days that get me through all the rest of it, right? Is getting to
Yeah,
meet all
this
the
is
patients
fun.
and talk to all of you, and I just feel the impact of it all, right?